time audit, and what's the purpose of doing this? What value am I getting out of doing a time audit? Well, let me explain what a time audit is and what it's for, and then how to do it. A time audit is an accounting of the time that we spend and everything that we do during a given week. You could have it during a day, or you could have it during a month, or whatever, but it's basically looking at the time spent during a week and how we're spending our time. A time audit is a tool for us, kind of like a budget is for money. A time audit is kind of a tool for us to have an awareness and evaluation of our use of time. Because time is a precious commodity and time is money in a way that we don't really think of, but impacts us, whether we realize it or not. It helps to have kind of an awareness of time. And so the time audit can be very helpful in doing that. I recommend people doing this practice of the time audit every semester or so. And let me explain kind of what it is. So what the time audit is you take your week, and during a week, there are a total of 168 hours. And you take that 168 hours, of course, spread across 7 days. 24 hours times 7 is how you get to that number. And what you try to do is estimate how much time you spend doing each item, activity, responsibilities, whatever you have going on during a week. So for example, the easiest example to start with is sleep. Okay, let's say somebody sleeps 8 hours a night on average, and there are 7 nights in the week, so that comes out to 56 hours of that week is dedicated to sleep. Okay. Along with that, you say, okay, well, how much time do I spend in the morning, maybe getting ready, getting dressed, showered, all that type of stuff? Somebody spends, and it'll be more or less time for the individual. This is true for all of these categories I'm going to mention as examples. Let's say the person goes and takes 20 minutes, get ready fairly quickly every day. Shower, dress, teeth brushed, okay, all that type of stuff, kind of getting ready to go. That would come out to 2 hours and 20 minutes a week spent on that type of thing. Then you think of things like driving. Then you think of things like, okay, how much time do I spend driving during the week? From place to place, all the places I need to go. Or how much time do I spend at work or at school or working on homework? And then think about, okay, how much time do I spend watching TV and social media and playing video games and whatever, and hanging out with friends. And the purpose of the time audit is not a judgmental purpose. It's not to say that time is spent on these things and should be and not on others. It's just to think through consciously all the things that you do during a given week. Now, there may be some things that you do only once a week. So you account for that. Okay, let's say it's something you do once a week. It takes 3 hours. Or on Saturday, there's, you go and play basketball for a couple hours. Okay, so 3 hours on Saturdays playing basketball. So that's 3. Or you may go to church on Sundays, or and you're trying to pick an average week. So maybe if there's like a birthday party you go to on a Saturday, that's probably not happening every week, but what usually happens on a Saturday? Maybe you hang out with friends. Maybe you watch TV. Maybe you scroll on social media, whatever the case may be. Okay. Or hobbies and interests, whatever just happens during a week. Now, your goal is to try to count up everything that you do. When you sit down and have a meal, how long does that take? You know, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, what if I eat while I'm watching TV? Okay, yeah, there's going to be some overlap or something like that, but you get, I think, the main point. So you're doing all these things, you add up and try to account for everything. Then you take the total amount of hours in a week, 168 hours, and you subtract whatever your number is. And usually, individual results may vary, but usually what people find is they have about an extra 24 hours that they didn't really account for somehow. Now that maybe recalculate a little bit, but even so, most people usually end up realizing that they have about 24 hours or a day's worth of unaccounted for time, which means that we have more time available than we're using. Now, why a time audit can be helpful and why I recommend doing one every semester is because a lot of times people get overwhelmed with what is happening and all the responsibilities and commitments that they have to meet. And that can cause them to feel stressed out. And what a time audit allows you to do is to feel a little bit like, okay, there is enough time. There's even a buffer of time that it is possible to use the time during the week and not and get done everything that I want to do, including the fun things that I want to do. Okay, so the second kind of purpose for it is that a lot of times, just like a budget is for money, people most of the time with money, they just don't realize how much they're spending or where they're spending or how they're spending. And a budget allows them to have, first of all, an awareness of where their money's going. And once they start having that awareness, that allows them to evaluate and make decisions. It's the same thing for the time audit. You have an awareness of where your time is going, how your time is being spent. And again, it's not to be judgmental or critical of these things. It's just to say, all right, are there any adjustments I might want to make? Are there any changes that I want to make or shift some time from one thing to another? It also allows people to think a little bit more strategically about their week, which is something that successful people do. Successful people often have planned down to the 15-minute mark. Like hyper successful people in business know every 15 minutes what they're doing. It doesn't mean they're doing a new task every 15 minutes, but it means that they can account for it down to that fine of a distinction of their time. And so what I mean is, as far as it helping you to be more strategic, is you may realize, oh, I was spending 3 hours watching TV a day. You know, maybe more, maybe less. You may not watch TV, but the overall point is, okay, maybe I was spending 3 hours watching TV. And I don't think about it when I just sit down and turn on the TV. I just kind of watch until I'm tired of watching or whatever, right? Maybe I'm sitting on my phone, maybe whatever the case may be. And so now that you have that awareness, doesn't mean watching TV is bad or that you have to get rid of it, or scrolling on social media is bad and that you have to get rid of it. It just allows you to say, well, maybe this week I'll just said, for an hour watching TV, just an hour watching TV, and I'll watch this show. And once I'm done, I'll go shift some of that extra time to something else. Right? Doesn't mean you have to make any changes. It just allows you now to evaluate and strategize with your time. And so it kind of frees you up. It also allows you to see if there's extra time in your week for extra things. Often one of the biggest things that people say for a reason why they believe honestly that they can't do something is I don't have time. And it's not necessarily that they are not telling the truth, and it's not necessarily that they feel like they don't have time. It's that they aren't aware fully of how their time is being spent. And I think, that this is why you do a time audit every once in a while. You look at, where is my time being spent, and do I like the way my time is being spent? Do I want to make any changes? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But a time audit is a tool that allows you to make those decisions. Now, what does this have to do with college? Well, a time audit helps you not only be less stressed out and see that you can do this, there is enough time, but it also helps you determine the not just the possibility, but the amount of time that it would be possible to work potentially while you're in college. You guys are in a situation, and the people going to college right now are of a generation where college prices have increased. College costs have shot way up. And we can recognize that and complain about it. But the fact of the matter is, if you are pursuing college, this is something that you'll have to deal with. And it's something that will be a challenge to you either way, but it will be even more of a challenge if you decide to do college debt free. And if you decide to do college debt free, which I think you should, I don't think any less of you if you don't. But if you decide to do the harder thing at the beginning and do college debt free, which I think is worth it, I think that you're going to have to, most people will find that they will have to work to pay for it before and during college. And then hopefully you get a job after college as well. But you're going to have to work in most cases. That's how it's going to be possible to do college debt free. Having a job is the best cost reducer / cost eliminator. Now, some people may not be in that position where they have to work during college and before college to pay for college. Okay. So some people may not be in those circumstances. They may have enough grants, scholarships, savings, or their parental contribution, chosen their college very carefully and strategically as far as choosing to go to cheaper options, inexpensive schools, and maybe doing 2 years of community college and 2 years at a university. And they have it planned out so that they don't have to take out loans to go to college. And they don't have to necessarily work while they're at college. That's great. I wish that was the case for a lot of people. That may be the case, by the way, if you do college debt free and learn these principles and apply them in your life, you may put your future children, should you have them, in a position to be able to do that. But most people aren't in a position to do that. Okay, so most people, the reality is, most people are going to have to work while they're in college to pay for their education. Used to be that years back that you could work a summer job and pay for Harvard's tuition. That's no longer true. Now, a lot of times there's articles, and I have posted some of them, that talk about their focus is on the minimum wage, that it hasn't increased, this much, and hasn't kept pace with increasing expenses and all that. That is true to an extent, but it has built in a very important assumption. And that built-in assumption is that most people are paid the minimum wage. That assumption is actually not true. Only 1.9% of people make the federal at or below the federal minimum wage, which means most people make more than that. Okay. So the two kind of questions that people have, understandably, when talking about the possibility or even the need for work during college is, number one, is it possible? And number two, is it enough? Number one is it possible for somebody to work and also get their academic stuff done, which is the point of being a student, is to move toward getting a degree, having a GPA and all that type of stuff that is sufficient not only to graduate, but to do well in college. And working, the fear is, or the concern is, that it may inhibit that. Having to work while also having to do school, while also having other responsibilities and spending time with friends and family and all these other areas of life, adding in a job adds a level of difficulty that would not otherwise be there. It adds a time commitment that would not otherwise be there. And so a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, I know it's possible. I know it's in the movies and stuff, somebody works a job really hard and they do all this stuff and they somehow get by. But I mean, is it more realistic, I guess, is the question to ask, than possible? Is it really realistic to have a job while in college? When you're trying to focus on passing, being a good student, getting your classes done, getting your credits, and graduating in 4 years. I mean, is it really a good idea for students to have a job at the same time? And again, individuals may make different decisions on what's best for them, but that's one of the questions and concerns we'll have to deal with. And then number two, is that sufficient? Is that going to be enough to pay for college? And again, there's all kinds of factors, right? But really the question is, if someone is working and using that money to pay for college, is working a job going to be enough? And that's what individuals will have to decide. It may be one job, maybe multiple jobs, right? Depends on what each person decides is right for their situation. It also depends on the cost of the college. Is the college affordable? Any college is great if you can pay for it, right? That's fine. If you want to do a very expensive, prestigious private college, over 50,000, 40,000 a year, that's fine if you can pay for it. Because here is often the tension. And let's not go bipolar, meaning go from one extreme to the other, of that just because somebody does not go to a prestigious private school with a famous name, that all that's left as alternatives are crappy colleges. Let's take those extremes on that spectrum and kind of bring them into the middle, which is closer to reality. Because the truth is, often from the same mouths, people unironically say things like, college is very expensive and hard to afford. And I empathize with that quite a bit. And that is true. However, along with that comes picking an unaffordable college, which I equate to, and basically narrowing your field of vision to seeing only the expensive college that one might want to attend as good colleges and the colleges that they have to go to, and they pay a premium for it. When in actuality, there are alternatives that will give you the same bachelor's degree. Often, if we're talking about private college, for 90% cheaper. So shaving off that, if you look at what you're getting from a private college, expensive, unaffordable college or in-state college versus a college that's more affordable, and they give you the same bachelor's degree and educational levels, skills, certifications, and access, are you really willing to pay for more for the other, for the alternative that you like better for whatever reason, right? And subjective value is subjective value. People want what they want, but you have to weigh the cost and the benefit of it. It's kind of like saying cars are expensive. Somebody says, yeah, where do I get that? Cars are expensive these days. And I say, yeah, and and they're a need. I have to have a car to, get to work, do the things I need to do. And they say, yeah, they're expensive and we need them, and I say, yeah, it's just, all right, well, I'm going to go get the BMW. They're like, wait a second, a BMW? Yeah, I have to have a BMW. It's my dream car, but cars are just so expensive these days. Well, that there are other cars besides the BMW, right? And that's a very expensive car just for getting you to work, which would be fine, if that's what you want to drive and if you can afford it. But there are alternatives. Well, yeah, but I mean the BMW is my dream car. I want to have my dream, so got to take out money to finance it. What I've done there is, if I had that attitude toward BMWs and ignored all other possible alternatives that would fulfill the need that I have for a car at a much lower price, but also complain about the expense, I think there's a tension there that ignores the alternatives for what we want. But college is, often people do that with college, right? They have a dream college. They want to get out of a certain location, whatever the case may be. They want to go to college, a certain college, because of hearing about the experiences or the fun, or certain friends attend this college, or this college has a famous name, whatever the things like that may be true. In the mix of those things, college is a financial decision. And I care about your dreams. I care about you being able to have your freedom of movement and go where you want to go, and hopefully work where you want to work, and travel and do whatever your thing may be. But here's some perspective on the dream college idea. How much are you willing to pay for your dream college? Because the assumptions that are built into that are that 4 years that you will attend your so-called dream college are worth paying on average tens of thousands of dollars for after your dream experience, so-called, is already done. You've got people in their 30s paying for their dream college that they experienced from when they were 18 to 22. And the burden of student loan debt is so oppressive on people that I say the dream in many cases has become a nightmare for those people. That for their dream that they had when they were 18 years old, to be paying for it when you're 30, that's stopping the 30-year-old from achieving their dreams. So you need to think not just about 18-year-old you and what you want as your dream right now, but you need to think about you in the future. Because paying a premium for your dream college right now and using debt to finance it, you may get that 4 years and it may be a great time and you get the degree, but you may be limiting and inhibiting your dreams in the future. Which means when you want to move somewhere, work somewhere, travel, you've got the burden of student loans hanging over you. And you're still having to pay down tens of thousands of dollars plus a mountain of interest over, on average, 18.5 years of time, where normally you'd be looking at getting a house, but now, which that's your new dream, or traveling to somewhere you've never been before in a foreign country, or living somewhere that you want to live, or working a job that you want to work that may be at a different location or whatever the case may be. But you can't, or you can only in a limited way, because you're still paying off your 18-year-old dream. And so I'm for your dreams. I'm just for your dreams over the span of your lifetime, not just what you think your dream is tied to a college right now. And the fact is, I think most people, even if they talk about a dream college, will admit that they do not expect their life to be the best it ever is at college and then to decline after that till the rest of their life, till the end of their life. I think most people think college is a starting point, which it is. But when you tie so much into a dream college, what that indicates about the rest of your life is that, okay, I'm going to peak in college for these 4 years, and then the rest of my future life, which is going to be a lot more than that 4 years, hopefully, is not as important. And I don't think that's true. So I'm actually in favor of your dreams long term. And one of the things that limits and inhibits people's dreams more than anything else is debt. In addition, a lot of people choose a college because it allows them to get out of where they live. It allows them to go somewhere maybe they've never been, live there before. People choose colleges sometimes because they have a pretty campus, or whatever the case may be with that, oh, I don't want to get stuck in the Antelope Valley. I don't want to get stuck in Palmdale. My only chance to get out is financing with student loans, me going to this college. But again, I'm for your freedom of movement just over the long term. The truth is, there's no people who feel more stuck than people who are under the burden of debt, especially student loans. So there's plenty of people who financed their dream college, financed an unaffordable college, took out tens of thousands of dollars worth of loans, thinking that it was worth a degree at any cost to go and live at this campus, have fun, have that experience for 4 years, and then come out with a degree. But then they come out with a degree and tens of thousands of dollars of debt, and they're right back where they started. They hopefully get a job, but their job now is to pay off that 4 years. And what that entails at that point is now they feel like they can't move. They can't go where they want to go. They can't necessarily always work where they want to work either, because they may need a higher paying job that they hate versus a lower paying job that they love, but they feel like they have to stick with the higher paying job that they hate because they've got debt obligations. You know, or people choose the campus that's prettiest. I'm all for a pretty campus, that's fine. And again, all of these things are okay. Nothing's bad about any of these things. I'm just putting it in some perspective that may come off like it's negative. But none of these things are bad. They are all fine in due proportion if you can afford it. And so people choose, oh, well, the campus is pretty. I don't like, kind of where I live, this place looks prettier than where I live, where it's out of state, which is you pay a premium for going to college in another state, or it's within state, but it's a very expensive college in general. And then it happens to have a pretty campus or some fun activities on campus and stuff. Well, go there and visit. You can go there, and how much would you pay to go and visit a pretty college campus? I mean, go there and visit for free. Spend some money on some gas to go and hang out there if it's beautiful. But that's not really, again, it's not a financial decision at that point. And so choosing based on location, it's like, oh yeah, school in Hawaii, and there's nothing wrong with schools in Hawaii, but just it'll be cool because it'll be near the beach or something like that. Again, college is a financial decision. Let me give you another example. I was able to fly, I do quite a bit of flying over the years, and I was able to fly on first/business class once. My dad was on a business trip. His business was paying for him to be in business class, and I was paying for the coach seats. So we were at different parts of the plane, and then we'd get out. We had our trip together, and we were flying back from Switzerland. And then my dad, as we were flying back, the last minute switched tickets with me and said, "Don't say I never did anything for you," and then allowed me to ride on business class, and he took my coach seat. And business class was nice. You get like a recliner, you put your chair back, you get like an actual nice blanket and pillow, and they're really nice to you, and they give you a nice meal, and you have the TV, and you have the nice headphones, and you don't have to get uncomfortable. And I mean, that's the way to fly. I've also seen and was impressed by Elvis's private jet. I'd be like, oh man, that would be the way to fly, because you just get off of a flight and you're so sore and stiff, and you had to sit there, and it's just a long flight to do all that, but when you fly first class or you have your own private jet, well, that would be great. But I don't fly, I fly, but I don't fly first class very often. And when people only limit themselves to expensive and unaffordable colleges, what they're doing in effect, and allowing a little humor here, but for the overall point, but what they're doing basically is saying, yeah, I can't fly unless I fly first class. Right? Is there such a difference between first class and coach that you're willing to pay $3,000 for an airline ticket versus $300? Both first class and coach on the same plane get to the same place. One's a little less comfortable. Actually, it's a lot less comfortable, but the overall point is one is potentially 9 or 10 times cheaper. But people do the same thing with college. They only look at the colleges that I would classify as unaffordable. Now, unaffordable is different for each person in their situation. But if you only look at the unaffordable colleges and pretend the other ones don't exist or are crappy, and then also talk about the college is expensive, well, part of the reason it's expensive is you've taken college from being a financial decision and out of that category, and instead you've made it an emotional decision instead of weighing cost and benefit and things like that. Now, in terms of answering our kind of two original questions, working during college, is it realistic and is it sufficient? Well, is it realistic? There are several studies that I've posted for you guys to read as well, but there are several studies on students who work while they're in school versus not working while they're at college. And these studies done over time, there's several that find similar findings, and I have a bunch of them that are made available as well. And the conclusion that they basically have come to is that students who work a little less, but no more than 20 hours a week, who work about 10 to 20 hours a week, that those students seem to have better academic results than students who do not work and just attend college. Now, why is that the case? It's hard to say definitively. It may just be people who are already highly organized and self-motivated, and they already, can handle both of those things. That being said, it may also be that it causes people to prioritize. That once you've got commitments and responsibilities as far as, okay, you've got homework and papers and tests to study for and things to turn in, and classes that you have to be in there and listening to. And then also it comes with a job that you've got to go and do your responsibilities there, and you got to show up on time and do your work. And then you also have friends and things you hang out with and things you go do for fun and stuff you do with your family and other responsibilities related to maybe that side of things. And then you have stuff that you like to do and spend time doing. That it may be that having those kind of commitments and responsibilities, while it may feel overwhelming in some cases, actually just causes people to prioritize and plan their time better. And so that's why we have a time audit. It also helps you think in terms of how many hours are in a week and how much time is actually available to you. So when you think of 20 hours in a week, if you look at Monday through Friday, 5 days, that would be the equivalent of working for 4 hours each day, excluding Saturdays and Sundays. So working 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That is a big chunk of time and it is a commitment. However, it's not impossible. And if you get a job on campus, which they go quickly, they're not always available, but often they allow you to work your schedule around your classes. So you could work 2 hours in the morning, go to a class, come back, work a couple more hours in the afternoon, do another class, and that's your day. I did that, and when I was in college, I worked a job on campus that allowed for us to choose that type of schedule. So it is possible to do that, and it may even help you organize your time. So it's not that it's unrealistic to have a job while getting your stuff done at college, but you have to know yourself. And I'm not saying it's easy, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to go through getting used to that and making sure you're doing the primary thing, which is going to class, getting good grades, and passing your classes and getting out of there in 4 years. So it's important to do that as well. But the time audit helps you focus on how much time you have. So you can start to think, all right, well, how much time would I have available? And then is it sufficient is the second question. Yeah, you may work and you may be able to do just fine with having a job as far as meeting your responsibilities, academics, and your job and doing all those things. You may be willing to do that. You may be able to do that. But is it going to be enough money? Well, again, it depends. Depends on how much money you have available from other sources. It depends on whether or not you chose an affordable college, and it depends on how much your job is paying you. It depends on how many hours a week you work. There are several factors, but let me just put it into perspective like this. Let's say you worked 20 hours times, um, let's say $13 an hour. Okay. Now we're going to do that calculation minus 20% for taxes. I did this calculation earlier. I had to have it off my cell phone because I had to work in the taxes and everything. So this is what it comes out to. Or show that, let me just say that the average in-state tuition for the state of California yearly is $14,253 a year. Now we know some colleges are a lot more expensive and some colleges are cheaper, but that's the average in California for in-state tuition, meaning if you live here. Okay, people who don't live here and go to college here pay a lot more. You go to USC, you pay a lot more. Okay, you go to a private college, you go to a UCLA, you pay a lot. So there's that. Okay, but the average is about $14,000 a year. Okay, if you worked 20 hours a week times $13 an hour, I think reasonable to assume, minus a 20% tax, you would come out to $10,816 a year. Now, I get you can spend your money on other things too, and you may have other needs and financial obligations. There are a lot of factors at play, but those simple numbers indicate that if that was the case and you worked 20 hours a week minus taxes, you would cover most of the amount of the average in-state California tuition. You'd only have a little over $4,000 left to cover. And in that sense, working while you're in college is fairly realistic and can, depending on the college and all those other factors involved, can take a big chunk out of college and allow you to pay for it debt-free. But it comes down to choices and what you're what's available and what you find and where you work and how much and how long and all those other factors. But there is the possibility. that it's not something that you're just working, and it never makes any dent into it. Um, it can actually contribute quite a bit. So a job while in college can be one of the greatest cost reducers slash cost eliminators while you're in college.